Most Amazon gurus will tell you that starting your own Amazon private label brand only requires like $5,000 or $3K or less. This is criminally wrong. The people spouting this online are either failed sellers, software providers needing to sell you a subscription, a service provider, pushing a course, or just flat out con men. In this video, I'm going to share with you, or actually expose, the real costs that go into starting your own private label brand on Amazon. And by the end of it, you're going to be able to make a more informed decision on the investment necessary to actually succeed with private label on Amazon. My name's Carlos Alvarez. I'm a full-time Amazon seller of 15 years, host of the Wizards of Ecom podcast, and founder of the largest Amazon seller meetup group in the world. A private label means you're starting your own brand, and you're going to do a lot of in-depth research. You're going to lock in whatever you believe is a winning product, and then you're going to back all of this up with confidence and your hard-earned money. So you do this to make a nice meaty profit for yourself and your family. You want to retire early. You want to win financial freedom and live life actually on your terms. All of this is completely possible with private label. No one has ever sought out, though, to take all of the risks involved with private label just to make like $50 in profit. And it just absolutely kills me when somebody tells a seller that they can start private label products for $2,000 to $3,000 because they're not actually thinking about your profitability or your financial freedom. So with this in mind, knowing you want to achieve financial freedom or set up yourself for a much sweeter life financially, here are the two critical parts to the private label investment equation. Let's talk about the money first. So breaking down initial costs, here is a list of 20 costs that you need to be aware of before launching your private label product on Amazon. And this is before even considering the cost of your actual inventory. So number one on this list is going to be the cost of your actual seller account. This should be super obvious. Unfortunately, it's not. If you want to sell a brand on Amazon, you need a pro seller account. And this is, you have a choice between pro or individual. A pro Amazon account is going to run you $39.99 a month, and it unlocks features which are, in any serious seller's opinion, mission critical to succeeding as a private label seller on Amazon. Could you technically start a free individual account plan, which is, well, free? Absolutely. But it is the perfect recipe to fail and lose your entire investment into this private label. Annual cost of an Amazon seller account, pro account, is going to be $480. The second on my list is samples. The cost for samples is highly dependent on the type of product you plan on launching. True, assuming no modifications are needed to be made to the product, and assuming you're not going to go and get a golden sample from VTrust, then using my lowest amount that I have ever paid for samples and products and packaging, I'm going to put this number at $400. So the cost of product samples and packaging plus the shipping back and forth between you and the factory, it adds up fast. Number three on the list is packaging. So the packaging that's baked into the product quote you get in China is absolute shit. It's going to be some thin-walled China box with maybe a piece of PE foam the size of a square of toilet paper attached to it. It will not protect your product, which leads to a defect rate and bad reviews. It does not provide a great experience to the buyer when they receive it and are actually thinking about leaving you an actual product review. Assuming we're looking at a 2,000 piece minimum order quantity, you can easily add $1 to $2 per unit in customized packaging. So let's use the low number of $1, and let's say you had a minimum order quantity of products of 2,000 units. You've just added $2,000 to your order. Number four on the list is going to be GS1 UPC barcodes. So you know when you get a product in the store and it has those barcodes on the bottom, and that's what they scan so that the register gets the price. Well, your product needs a barcode. You're creating something from scratch. They don't magically appear. So not getting a GS1 and UPC approved barcode could sink your listing. Amazon requires GS1 barcodes, period. Can you trick their system into accepting a 5-cent barcode from WeSellCheapBarcodes.com? Yeah, but it's going to come back to haunt your listing down the road and cost you a ton in sales, headaches, or possibly even your account. The smallest pack of GS1 barcodes you can order runs around $300. Number five on the list is photography. Absolutely not the time to start cutting corners. As high as 80% of your product success, like think about this, 80%, the whole 80-20 rule, 80% of your product success is going to come down to the photos, especially the main image. If you want some recommendations on who I use, ask away in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to link to who I use for my product photography, or even make an email introduction if you prefer that. I spend about $2,000 to $5,000 in product photography. If you're spending less than this, it means one of two things. You're either a product photographer yourself, which go for it, or you're doing it absolutely wrong. So let's peg this one at $2,000. Number 6 on the list is videography. Cool. So you have a smartphone. Bonus points for the video editing software, which, by the way, if you do have it, you're paying on more each month. But guess what? This does not qualify you to do your product videography. It may even disqualify you to be the best person to do it. So you do not want a video placeholder file on your listing just to say, oh, I added video to my listing. No, what you're looking for is you want a video that sells your product, so that when someone on Amazon is looking at a video of your product, it compels them to buy, it converts them. Anytime I've spent less than $1,500 on a product video, it did not sell my product. Number 7 is branding guidelines and logo. Skip this one and just fail. The days of ignoring this one have long since passed. And to reinforce an earlier point that I was making about, packaging, photography, and video, you need to know your messaging, typography, logo, and brand do's and don'ts to even come close to nailing your packaging, A+ listing creative, and main images. I pay $750 to $1,000 for this, and I'm sure now that with the leveraging of AI that you could save a ton in regards to your logo, and maybe even get this for about $500. So we'll call this one $500. Number 8 is your shipping, the dreaded shipping. So this is the one that I notice a lot of people just conveniently skip when they're telling somebody they can start a private label for a little bit of money. So the smallest product I have ever shipped over from China, that again, a mass production, I'm bringing products over so that I can stay in stock. The smallest product I have ever shipped over from China that also had a profit margin that justified the high cost of air freight was a digital hygrometer. In this scenario, it cost me $1,500. In most cases, you're going to need to use sea freight because the product you're wanting to sell is too heavy or too bulky, or the profit margins just don't support expensive air shipping. In these cases, it's going to cost you $3,000 to $4,000. But let's use my lowest shipping rate ever of $1,500 for this one. Number 9 on this list is customs, duties, and tariffs. This one's super relative to the actual product. So you should know and 100% check on what your duties and tariffs are before ordering your actual products. But on this one, you can safely add $1,500 to this process to cover all of the bonds, permissions, one-time or continuous import bonds, and all the other fees that you're going to have to pay that are associated with bringing your products and importing them into the country. And this is just to import your products successfully. Number 10 here is software. So some of the bare bones basics for private label that you're going to want to be subscribed to are Jungle Scout, Data Dive, and Seller Mobile. So I had to really think on this one. I use a lot more software than this. On my monthly software runs over $15,000 a month. But if I had to condense this and I was just starting and I didn't want to skew these numbers, it would be Jungle Scout, Data Dive, and Seller Mobile. So these 3 combined are going to run you about $300 a month. Number 11 is going to be listing creation. The most affordable solution for this you can use is a solution that I created specifically for the Wizards of Ecom community. That's you, by the way. The listing, keyword research, and crafting a conversion crushing listing is $250 for the copy, and the A+ content, which is all of the graphics and the additional keywords at the bottom of your listing, is an additional $500. So I will honor this break-even price with you in the link in the description below. I'll share both the link to Bluebird Marketing Solutions where I offer it, as well as our Fiverr Pro gig. But for listing creation, you're easily going to be able to, let's put this one at $750. Number 12 is insurance. Not only is it absolutely mental to start selling your new brand without insurance, but once you have some sales under your belt, Amazon's going to actually require it. Unlike when I started though, the competitive landscape for this has changed completely for the better for us, which is a strange thing to say in this space. So getting insurance now, this is usually going to run you about $50 a month when you start, and I highly recommend Assureful for this. I'll share my link below in the description to Assureful so they can hook you up. Number 13 is going to be your advertising or pay-per-click advertising. You might hear me call it PPC. This is about as debatable as Democrat or Republican. So since this is so relative to the type of product, the level of competition for that product, the amount of competitors and the keywords that you're going after for that product, I turn to the most authoritative source on the planet, Jungle Scout. So according to Jungle Scout, you should start with about $50 to $100 a day. Let's split the difference on this one and call it $75 a day. Assuming you're getting great sales out of the gate, you're going to need a budget of about 60 days worth of spend before you start recouping your money. So we'll put your PPC cost alone at $4,500. That $3,000 to $5,000 starting your PL seems to be a little sketchy now, right? Number 14 is giveaways and influencers. You need product reviews and sales velocity when you get started. Without it, you'll have a product that just does not get discovered, unless it's by your wife, your husband, your grandparents, whoever you have in your life. So however you slice it, white hat, black hat, just pick your poison. I'm not judging. You're looking at a minimum of 30 to 50 units between Vine, rebates, and Amazon influencers. Between cost of goods and shipping this to the influencer, you're looking at another minimum of $500. Number 15 is going to be molds. This one's completely optional, but one I highly recommend for most products, whether it's creating your own functional packaging or you're altering the actual structure of the product so that it stands out in search results. If you're trying to do that, then it's going to be about another $2,500 here, and it could be a lot more depending on the material cost. So I'm going to set this number aside from our grand total because maybe you don't want to get a mold, but it's a real one you are probably going to need to do. And ironically, a lot of people avoid getting the mold cost because it's going to cost them money, but it's actually a lot more profitable almost immediately if you do. Number 16 is trademarks. You're investing in the creation of a brand and you need to protect it. At a minimum, Amazon requires you to get a trademark for your brand if you want to be recognized by them and if you want to be given access to what I call mission critical brand tools, access through Amazon Brand Registry. This cost me $1,300 working with an Amazon approved attorney. You could technically do this yourself, and anybody giving you this advice, just ask them if they also do their own bookkeeping and accounting, and then do yourself a solid, unfriend them. Speaking of bookkeeping and accounting, number 17 is your actual bookkeeping. So you need to budget about $300 a month for this one. This is not one of those things you should ignore until you get bigger. The longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to be to get all caught up and clean it up. And I'm speaking from experience here. This is highly advised to start with in the beginning, and it's going to run you $300 a month. Number 18, service provider. So there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to profitably launching and scaling your private label brand. At some point, you're going to need some consulting or take a paid course or join a paid mastermind, and this is going to help you a ton. These sort of knowledge resources, and they're not all created equal. And it's super important that you find one that guides you in the way that helps you the most and how you learn best. So this is why I created Wizards of Ecom Academy. Besides the hundreds of classes, or if not thousands at this point, that you're going to get access to as soon as you sign up, you also get unlimited email access to my team and I for only $50 a month. You get to leverage my 15 years of selling experience tailored to you and your business for less than $1.50 a day. I left a link to join the Academy in the description, and I look forward to welcoming you on the inside. Number 19 is going to be your storage costs. You need somewhere to store all that inventory you just purchased. So storage costs are not nominal fees. They really add up. And the most expensive of all the storage options at your disposal is going to be Amazon FBA. Now, Amazon FBA stands for Fulfillment by Amazon, and it's a warehouse that Amazon holds your products, and when somebody purchases it, it's eligible for Prime, and they ship it to them. So having them for sale in FBA is a must. But the rest of your inventory, it needs to be sitting somewhere outside of FBA until it's needed. Imagine, if you're selling 15 units a day, but you ordered 2,000 units, you don't want 1,900 plus units sitting in the most expensive option available. No, you're probably going to drip in a few hundred units to an Amazon FBA warehouse, and the rest of them need to sit somewhere. If you have a garage to store it in, great. But for most people, this is not an option, and you're going to need a 3PL, better known as a third-party logistics prep center. So they're going to warehouse your products at a very affordable rate, usually per pallet, and then they're going to prep them for FBA as you need more products sent in to replenish your FBA inventory. You can expect to spend another $500 a month here sometimes, depending on how many units you have available, but let's put this one at 500 to start. Number 20 is inspections. Before paying for your products, you're going to need to actually have them inspected. You need to know that, that they were actually made. You need to know that they're safe. You have to make sure that they match the actual sample that you and the factory agreed upon. And these inspections are going to run you somewhere between $300 and $700. So let's just call it $300 for our calculations. Now, if you've been keeping a tally with us the whole time, we're now at $7,450 in expenses. And this is if you're not getting a mold. So if you're getting a mold, we're at $9,950. And I really was conservative on these numbers. So we've not even factored in the cost of the actual products. Think about this for a second. Pause me if you want. You've not actually added the product. So even if you disagree with me on like, oh, I think I could get this $10 cheaper, we're at $7,450 without actually adding in the cost of the product. So make sure when you do add in the cost of your products and you look at what that new number is, that you do not spend more in inventory than what a third of your budget is for your first order, or any subsequent order actually. So you want to leave 2/3 of your budget remaining for operating expenses between the time you order and your next reorder. You know, like payroll and the softwares we mentioned, like the Amazon seller account. So this breaks down to roughly a third, and you're going to want the other third of the budget available so you can actually reorder. There's not this magical time that you sell out of stock and you reorder and you replenish without running out of stock. So you need to reorder your inventory that's selling and making you money before you actually run out of stock. The second component to the private label investment equation is time. You can 100% run a wildly profitable private label business while working a full-time job somewhere else that pays the bills. I actually highly recommend holding your day job when you start your private label brand. But in the beginning, it's going to take you at least 10 to 15 hours a week of your time. If you do not have this sort of time in your budget, you're going to need to increase these estimations that I gave you even further, because you're going to have to hire someone to actually do them, whether that's an account manager, a PPC manager. My recommendation is that you need $30,000 to $50,000 to start your private label brand on Amazon if you want to be profitable and successful. The less time or experience you have with the actual platform, the more this number is going to be closer to 50,000 and above. Please ask me any questions you have about anything we've talked about here today in the description, and I will personally answer them for you. In the meantime, check out all the other private label strategy videos I have here in the channel. I actually have a video dedicated completely to the benefits of differentiating your product with a mold, which was the optional $2,500 that we spoke about, that I let you know, I clued you in on, is actually going to allow you to be a lot more profitable with your private label brand. I'll see you in the next video.